Yes, people, Raps on TV, Kojo here, Boxing Lowdown, Mr. Darryl, how you doing, sir?
Not too bad, bro.
Good. So listen, I think boxing this year, and I'm saying it like even last year was good, 2018, but 2019 has definitely been slightly special, namely for some of the upsets, you know, that we can roll off the top of our tongue. But for me, 2019 boxing has been a really good year. So I thought let's kind of get each other's sort of favourable moments, fighters,
Sure, yeah.
events. So maybe I'll start with you. So tell me, who would be your fighter of 2019?
Fighter of 2019, I mean, there are some credible names in there. You've got the likes of Canelo Alvarez that won the Ring TV Fighter of the Year. You've got Josh Taylor, who's had a very good year in terms of winning the World Boxing Super Series. You've got Naoya Inoue, he's a worthy mention. For me personally, it's difficult, man. I'd probably edge it to Canelo. I think for the fact that he moved up in weight to light heavyweight, took on Sergey Kovalev, who, like, okay, he's not the hardest light heavyweight out there he could have took on, but he's still a credible name. Defeated Anthony Yarde last time out. And Canelo Alvarez, when you consider that he was, is he probably even a natural middleweight, let's say. The fact that he's moved up to 2 further divisions to light heavyweight and to knock Kovalev out. Like, it wasn't a catch weight, this was literally at 175 pounds. Picked up another world title. I think he might edge it for me, but I mean it's close because I think Inoue is very worthy of a mention as well. And so is Josh Taylor. It's difficult. I think if Ruiz defeated Joshua in the rematch, I think
that would have been.
He would have took the fighter of the year for me.
He would have 100%. And that's, to be fair to him, he's still half had a shot if he didn't let himself down so badly.
He was terrible.
Even in the rematch, even if he had come in and given his all, that would have been. So that's a good shot actually. So now I hear you on the Canelo. I mean, for me, I think. I'll disagree with you. However, I do, which will sound strange, I still do have Canelo probably 1-2 on the pound for pound list, and that's purely because of, like you said, the body of work from Jacobs, the performance against Jacobs. I mean, he showed great boxing skills, head movement, power. It made Jacobs look quite average.
Yeah, he's quite dominant in that fight.
And I'm a fan of Jacobs, and he was, like I said, very dominant. Same with Kovalev. Of course, it was an element of cherry picking, but he still went up and fought the guy and knocked him out. And Kovalev still has a strong jab. That's what he defeated Yarde with. So I think, I could definitely see reasons why. I think the only reason I'm going to say my fighter, and I think it's purely because, and it's something I only thought about in the last month or so. I think I'm giving it to Josh Taylor. The reason why is purely because he went into this World Boxing Super Series, which is, for boxing fans, I think it kind of delivers what we asked for, the best, more or less fighting the best. I thought it was a big fight down at the O2 against Regis Prograis. He was an undefeated fighter. Baranchek was an undefeated fighter. So I felt that, to be going through that in a year, I felt, you know what, that shows that he's really of the right caliber. He is of a high level caliber fighter. I've always known Josh Taylor is good. I didn't think he was probably as good as he's shown me this year. So for me, I think I have to give it to Josh Taylor. Like you said, now I think he's in Ring magazine as well. I think he was got the Ring.
Canelo got the Ring.
Canelo got the Ring.
Think Josh Taylor was nominated, and listen, no arguments there at all, man. Because I think he's a worthy mention, very worthy nominee, and he's not someone that I'd argue with too much about it. I think Pacquiao deserves an honourable mention as well for the Keith Thurman fight. I think that was and the Broner fight. He dominated Adrian Broner. He beat Keith Thurman. He knocked him down in that, and a lot of people were thinking Keith Thurman will probably make Pacquiao show his age in that, but he turned back the clock. So I think he's an honourable mention too. There's a few, and even me, and I know people will be, even me, I would say even Spence Jr. He fought Garcia, big arena, not stopped Garcia beat Garcia conclusively in my eyes. 12 rounds shut down. Everyone thought Garcia would be able to show his boxing IQ. I felt Spence Jr. Delivered there. The Sean Porter fight as well. Huge fight, one of the fights of the year.
Exactly. So there you go. I think
you was at that fight.
Yeah, I was at that fight.
Amazing,
so it was, big.
What was the atmosphere like?
The atmosphere was. You know what? The American atmosphere is always different to the UK, but it was good energy, great atmosphere. I would definitely recommend anyone to go out to the States to do that. But yeah, I think 100%. yeah, you could add. I think, but even when you weigh it up, I think Pacquiao is a very good shout because, like you said, I mean, people have mentioned him as fighters of the decade, and I just think actually there's a good shout that he could be fighter of the year because Broner, that is a tough fight for him. The age he was.
Yep.
And Thurman, like you said, even if it was the 2-year layoff, I think everybody should remember in boxing, there's always little asterisks around people's wins, you know.
Yep.
But for me, it's a good shot actually. Manny Pacquiao. Okay, our wild card. Who do you think was probably the overrated fighter of the year, if that's a possibility?
Overrated fighter of the year. Wow. I'm going to say Josh Kelly.
Yeah?
I'm going to say Josh Kelly, I think when he got into, at the beginning of the year, this guy was being, and listen man, like there's nothing wrong with, it's a promoter's job to hype up the fighter. But I think towards the end of the year, we saw like a little bit of holes in his game. I mean, the fight in New York on the undercard of Joshua Ruiz, I think he got the draw in that fight. And then last time out, I can't remember the name of the opponent that he fought, but I didn't think he was that impressive in that one either. And I just think, he's going to be scheduled to fight Avanesian next year. That's going to be a difficult fight for him. But I remember at the beginning of the year, he was being tipped as like, people were saying he'd beat Kell Brook, Amir Khan now, and they were saying, I think that it was a bit too much. And like, no disrespect to like Josh Kelly or anything, I think he is a talent, but I think maybe what 2019 showed me is that just pump the brakes a little bit. And maybe take your time with him because he's not as special as we thought.
No, that's to be fair, that's a great shout. Because last year I remember when he made, not his debut last year, but when he made his debut, they were talking about the 10 hooks and all of this stuff.
The hooks in a row and everything.
And everyone on Matchroom was saying that this guy's really going to be the bee's knees. And you're right. I think the New York fight against Shane Sugar Shops, I forget the guy's name.
I forgot his name.
But so that fight he didn't really deliver, and even recently. So it's a very good shout. I was going to say something which is it might come across as harsh, but I think for me is Dave Allen, and I know maybe, I don't know what's going on with his personal life, but I just feel like this guy's been given so many opportunities, and he's like fought on big cards, gets the good, decent opponents to build his resume up. I mean, some could argue he's got a better resume than Wilder. You know what I mean? So for me, I think he should be taking his boxing seriously and delivering. And I felt the Price fight was that opportunity, and for whatever reason,
that was a reality call, wasn't it?
Right, exactly, and it shouldn't have been, because you look at what Price did when he came up against Chisora. Yes, I know it was short notice, but it was that reality checkers in that you're saying this guy had been given opportunity. Should he, let's look at the rest of the stable and start pumping these guys through, the likes of Craig Richards. I mean, Chamberlain was on that side. I mean, I'm not saying he's a great fighter, but he left because he wasn't getting the opportunity. So there's other guys I think that could be doing that. So that's overrated. So that's a good. I like that shout though, Josh Kelly. So who do you feel probably had the best 2019
in terms of career progression?
Career progression, like whether it's profile, like somebody that could look. So if I start and I'll say why, so then maybe it can give you a bit of time to think as well. For me, I have to say Tyson Fury. And the reason why I say Tyson Fury is that he finished the end of 2018 with a draw, which was obviously controversial. Not a robbery, but controversial, because I said he was not picked. I said he won the fight when I watched it. But then came into the year, who knew how that was going to affect him? Then lo and behold, bang, he gets the ESPN deal. In fact, we start again, they ordered the rematch, then he gets the ESPN deal, gets 2 fights against 2, let's be honest, easy opponents.
Robbing the bank.
But it's, at the same time, it's profile building because it allows him to fight in the States. People get to see him articulate himself, his character, and actually his skill set. In the 2 different fights, even though they weren't great opponents, one very easy, shows that he gets a knockout, another one gets a cut, still wins, and shows his adversity. Then we're going to talk about the WWE, which I thought in Saudi Arabia doesn't get spoken about. Brilliant, exactly. So then you're like, wow, that's another win. Then he's released a book as well, which I think a lot of people, I've not read it yet, but a lot of people are saying it's a great read. So for me, when I look at 2019, there's a few people I feel that have had a good year boxing and maybe just outside of boxing, but I just feel all round Tyson Fury's just like had such a
he's had
great
a tremendous year. A lot of fighters. I mean, all the fighters that we said in the Fighter of the Year nominees, they've obviously had a great year. But thinking outside the box a little bit, maybe like Chisora's had a very good year. I mean, he's had a good year. He's
after getting knocked out last year, right?
After losing to Dylan White, he then bounced back. And how many wins did he get? Like 3 wins this year?
Good wins as well. Like Spilka, knockout, Price,
knockout. Was it beat Gashi at the beginning of the year? Was it?
Yeah,
there's
exactly,
that as well.
Yes.
So he's turned himself into like a real, like even
feels
more of a fan
pay-per-view
favorite. And like, you know, people at the O2, I was there, and we were doing the fan cams after that fight, and a lot of people came out for Chisora. So he's kind of like put himself back up there for another huge payday next year against either Joseph Parker or Alexander Usyk. So it's been a great year for him.
Yeah, no, that's a great shout as well. And it's quite funny when you think actually both those guys have fought each other. But yeah, that Chisora is definitely a great shout. And yeah, okay. So I'll let you, any questions that you wanted to ask? I don't want it to feel
No, it's fine. I mean, let me think. There was the upset of the year, which is pretty straightforward, isn't it? I don't think we could really.
So we go back to that night though as a whole.
Yeah.
Where were you? Where did you watch that fight?
Yeah, I watched it. Just had a few people round, and like we were just It was like we're watching the fight. It was like this won't be too long, guys. Like you know, I wasn't one of those people that underestimated Ruiz and thought that he wasn't totally. I thought he was trash because he wasn't. But I think that nobody expected that to happen. And after the third round, I was like, okay, like getting ready to go, getting ready to do my review and everything, getting my camera ready, and then I saw the round of the year. Which kind of leads on to our next point, the round of the year. And I think that round 3 was astonishing to watch. And then led to the upset of the year. And I don't know, man, I just think Ruiz, he'll be very disappointed. We were talking about who really had a great year. Ruiz could have had an even better year, but he just really let it all go and was disappointed in the way how he carried himself in that rematch, man.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I want to talk about Joshua and Wilder Fury later, but I think there's no real place other than that night in New York. I think you hit the nail on the head. Ruiz could have had a great year, but he's let himself down. On the other hand, though, Joshua has kind of shown what he's made of, because whatever went wrong that night, he's rectified it, and whatever Ruiz did or didn't do, that's not in Joshua's control. All he can control is making sure that he's ready for the rematch
100%.
to win. And he did what everyone said he should have done the first time. So I think people are being overcritical on that sense. But yeah, I think that upset. I mean, I just want to take back to that night, and everything's hindsight, but I'll say this. One thing I did see on that night, which I thought was so strange, was when he was getting massaged in the corner. And I just felt that to me was
before the fight.
Before the fight. I just thought, that was odd. Was there anything else that you picked up that you felt?
I mean, I picked up during the ring walk. I mean, he wasn't really, when Joshua walks to the ring, I mean, he's like, he's hitting people in the crowd, like, yo, what's up? But you can tell this was the first time there was pressure on him, and he's been having to go through pressure his whole career, like from when he first fought for a world title, or going back to the Olympics, like that was when he had pressure on him. But I thought that he was out of his comfort zone here, and it was just something where, like, he didn't have the whole crowd behind him. It was like the Americans were more like, show me what you can do. Wilder just knocked out Brazil the week or so before, and he totally flattened him, like defeated him quicker than Joshua did. Joshua is now, he was supposed to fight Miller, that didn't go through. He's now fighting Ruiz. People are skeptical, saying, he should blast him out. And he's walking into an arena where it's just different, like not everyone's behind him. And I think that we don't know what happens like in the dressing room or anything. We did see him come out later on in the year and say that he was actually going through quite a bit, but it was quite obvious, like there was something wrong, and like just the whole demeanor wasn't the same, and you thought that when he knocked him down in the third, he just really wanted to just get the night over with instead of showcase his talent, and then it kind of bounced back on him. So I think I noticed, everyone noticed really, didn't they?
And I think that's a good point. It's funny because it kind of leads to the next question of, like, obviously the whole plan was to go to Concar. They don't take part with Concar. This is in terms of the US. Obviously DAZN is a major sort of partner of Matchrooms. Do you think we're going to see Joshua in the fight again in the States in 2020?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so personally, no. I think Eddie Hearn is after what's happened with the Ruiz fight, I think they're going to be a lot more careful and measured with Joshua going forward. I think that they kind of let the brakes off a little bit with who he could fight, because I think they generally, I don't think Hearn has like lost any like confidence in him that much, but I think it'll just be more strategic.
It's the exposure though, right? It's like, I think, and when you talk about strategic, I think no matter what, even in the rematch, there were a couple of moments Ruiz just wasn't fit enough to capitalize, where he got to Joshua and you kind of saw Joshua really sort of either evade that type of engagement and keep it long and create the distance. So kind of says that he doesn't really want to be in with somebody, in my opinion, that is going to take you to war straight away. I think he's happy to get into war, but I think he's going to want to be able to make sure that, okay, I can keep them at the end of my jab, and then when they do come forward, I've got a right that's just going to make them think twice before they rush in.
100%.
So I think for me, there was a bit of exposure around Joshua, and probably when he looks back at the year, maybe that's what might be a negative to him, but I think he should see it as, you know what, now you might get some more. I mean, there's only 2 fights we want to see him within anyway, but it means we might get those now, because he's shown that air of invincibility is no longer there.
I hope so. I think it's something that we need to see more of in 2020. Like these fights actually happening. I remember like Jamel Charlo, for example, losing against Tony Harrison. Obviously he rectified that this year, but it's the end of last year he lost to Tony Harrison. Supposed to fight him in April, that didn't happen. But originally he was being pushed for Jared Hurd, and that didn't happen because Jared Hurd then lost to Julian Williams. So I think an important lesson here is to just capitalise and make these fights happen now. I mean, look how long we've been talking about Spence and Crawford. Probably not going to see it now. Like Spence is lucky to be alive.
I mean, that's a whole different topic. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think with you in terms of make the fights, I mean, we get that you need to let him marinate. I think Spence Crawford, I did feel they needed that next year, not this year. Because it needs to marinate. But I think you're right. When you're talking about the likes of Joshua versus Wilder Fury, that's marinated. Even the Hurd Charlo, that had marinated. Both of those guys within their own right had a good resume, and they could have gone into that fight.
There's so many examples, of fights that we could have seen, but we haven't because it's been marinated for too long. Kovalev Stevenson's one that goes back however many years. We didn't get to see that, and God bless him, Stevenson. He's making a great recovery at the moment. So that's good to see.
And actually, that's a good point. If I can say, I mean, obviously, I apologise to the families. Can't name all of them, but there's been some tragedies this year in the sport boxing. But also, it's been good to see the boxing community come together, pay their respect. So. From Pat Day to Daddy Chef, I know there's a couple of others earlier in the year. Obviously, our thoughts will go out to the family. So,
100%.
Guys, we're going to move on to another segment, but don't forget to subscribe. Boxing Lowdown, Raps on TV.